So today we're going to be changing out the tires on our Eahora Juliet. So I got new tires, I got new puncture resistant tubes that we're going to install today. So without further ado, the first thing on our list is to loosen this stuff up and push it down so when we flip the bike over, it lands on the handlebars and not all of our stuff so it doesn't break anything. I'm probably just going to remove this, loosen this up so it can be flipped over. And then we're going to take out this battery so we can lighten it up a little bit. That'll make it easier to manage, and then we're going to flip it over. So that's what we're going to do right now. Now the battery's out, we're going to flip this bad boy over. Okay, so this bike is really heavy. So instead of rolling it over this way, I leaned it down and then I flipped it up, and that was much easier than trying to roll it over. So here's how we're going to do. We're going to take off this front tire, and then we're going to tackle this back tire. We're going to take off these little clips too. You can see them there, those little clips. So these just come off. Clips come off. And we're just doing the same over here. Off. Literally just slid right off. So front wheel, I'm using a 3/4 inch driver. I don't have any metrics, but this seems to fit okay. See, this tire is pretty bald. It's got about 913 miles, just pavement only though. So you may get a little more out of yours, but not me. Here's the disconnect. It's got tie downs here, 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 and here. So we got to snip all those off to get this free, so then we can pop out the wheel because that's the connection to the motor. So you are going to need some of these. Walmart, it's like $5 for these bad boys. So we're going to do that. This is where your back tire disconnect. This is the motor wire. So you do have to twist this off, right? And then you're going to pull these apart. Once you disconnect your connector there and undo these, flip this up, tire comes right out. So I just use this stem cap remover. So I remove the stem and let all the air right out. So I just used a couple these little $3, and this thing came off really easy. So it's nice to know this is lined. And there you go. So now we're going to unpack our puncture resistant tubes and put on our first tire tubes I got. They're self-healing. So I thought, more prevention is better. Literally, I just put on by hand. I just kind of squeezed it on there. So that went on pretty easy. Then we're going to put our tube in, and then we're going to close this thing. So tire and tube installed. I didn't even have to use any pry tools to get this thing back together. I literally put one side in, tucked the tube in, popped the other side in as I went around tucking the tube in, and there you go. Just like that. That one came off super easy. So we're going to do the same process we did here. So now I got the front one done. Literally the same as the back. I didn't even use any tools to get this front tire on. Literally poked in one side, stuffed in the inner tube, and then put the other side on the rim, and here we are. Old, new. Okay, so I just got back airing these up, and this is where I impart some wisdom on you. So because the bead is so loose, remember, getting it to seat is kind of hard. So I learned the hard way, and this is what I did. I filled up the tube, about 5 or 7 PSI. I pressed down in the middle, all around the tire, to kind of seat the bottom. And then I filled it up a little bit more with air. Same thing, a little more air, same thing, until I got to about 15 pounds. Then after that, I went right up to full 30. And you'll hear it bead because it'll pop like into place. So we're gonna do the easy one first. Literally slide it in between the caliper, and we're just gonna put the bolts and nuts back on here, and the front tire will be done. Add a little Loctite to these nuts to help hold them on. Got the front all tightened up onto the back. Seated this in there. There's some slots right there that you just line up on each side. And what I did is you have to pull this derailleur up, kind of like when you're a kid, to get it around that. Otherwise it slid right in there. pretty easily. So now we're going to connect all this, put all our wires back before we tighten that down. So you are going to need some zip ties. Walmart, it was like $3. So just another thing to be aware of that you're going to need to tie down those cables. So this screws right back onto this like when we took it off. One thing to note, this actually has a rubber gasket in it. So this is pretty waterproof in case you're wondering. Same process, we're gonna put a little Loctite on here to keep these bolts nice and snug. And there we go. Back to normal. So now we're gonna put the battery in. Oh, we're gonna flip it over, put the battery in, get it charged, and then we're gonna go for a ride.